Got it. All right. I don't know. Welcome back to
2.0.
Jag Media Podcast, which is probably not going to be called the Jag Media Podcast anymore.
I actually like Jag Media Podcast. I actually do still like that name, but
Yeah?
yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It has. Well, it's been a few minutes. Yeah. It's been many minutes.
Does anyone know what episode it is?
27.
27. I'm pretty sure it's 25.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's been a long time, but it's a long time between drinks. So here we are.
Yeah, I really think we've come back with a good theme tonight, in all honesty. And I'm just going to open up the floor with a very simple question of how has this year gone? We'll go oldest to youngest, Jimmy. Tell us.
You're the oldest, mate.
About no. This isn't my one. This is I'm the listener. I want to hear, and I'm sure everyone wants to hear how this year has gone and the biggest learnings you've taken from the venture.
Yeah.
That you boys have gone on.
Well, I suppose we can talk about the journey so far. So
Yeah.
this year, long story short, it hasn't gone to plan. So for full context, because I love context, October last year, sold my business that Anson and I are working in, and to effectively pursue our dream, our goal of working in the online space, basically as a PT. Did that October last year, ran a few free challenges at the back end of last year coming into Chrissy, and then thought, all right, well, we'll, new year, new me, we'll hit the ground running there, and the next 6 months is going to be brilliant. Don't get me wrong, lots of good things, lots of good quality things to come from the last sort of 7-8 months. But I suppose we didn't achieve what we wanted to achieve from a monetary or from a business perspective in order to warrant keeping us in the role full time. A lot of those, there's many factors to it. Some just not enough time. Some didn't do enough, of the right X's and O's. Didn't do some X's and O's. Overdid other X's and O's. I don't think there's any one particular thing that we can point to and say this is why, or this is where we fucked up, or we didn't do enough of. It's just holistically, we obviously didn't do enough to warrant staying in the space. And then it's probably March when I knew it from a financial standpoint, where I was like, shit, we're gonna have to do something here. And as I started to look for other work, and it started to sort of take a bit of a back seat. I think we still had, I don't know, 15 paying clients at the time.
Yeah.
Also, roughly 15 paying clients at the time. And we sort of went, all right, well, we now have to go back into this part-time because neither of us can sort of live on what it is that we're earning currently. So that is what where we shifted to. Did a bit of NDIS stuff. We're still doing a bit of NDIS stuff in a bit of, I don't know, luck or stupidity, or I don't know what you would call it, but the old business that I actually sold became available once again, just due to the people that we sold it to weren't capable of running the business. We got it back for pennies on the dollar, which is great. And yeah, we're back in that sort of full time as of about a month ago. So it's been a bit of a journey from my end. I'll speak from me. I can only speak from me. Trying to juggle Claire's study, 3 kids, and trying to, piece together a couple of jobs just to get by. I've found it really hard the last 2-3 months. To one, put my focus and energy into the coaching because I don't have a lot of bandwidth, and 2, mental health wise, I think I've definitely battled. So yeah, it's been an interesting, I think that first 6 months, lots of good lessons to come from it. Lots of areas where we know that we would do things differently We would do more of said things. We'd do less of other things. And again, that might not even be the next, that blueprint as well might not even work. But I think ultimately having a finite time is not a very good way to try and run a business either. Sometimes putting your back up against the wall can be beneficial. Obviously, in this instance where we threw everything at it for 6 months and we didn't get it to a point where we could live off it. We then left ourselves in a position where we were just fucking scrambling for the last sort of 3-4 months. So, it is what it is. Lots of good lessons, lots of good takeaways, lots of fucking heartache. But I think I've done enough beating myself up. I'm definitely still sort of in that phase, but I'm definitely coming out the back end of it. So, Anson, over to you, mate.
Basically, it was Jimmy hit the nail on the head. It was just a fucking journey, man. Like, it was 6 months, but it really was like pretty much 8 months when it comes down to it. I think it was pretty much like around about the time now. And looking back on it all, it's like we hit the ground sort of running at the same thing with what we were doing, knowing what we're doing. We learned the things that we wanted to do. And we come out and we did free stuff that we're bringing in stuff, and it felt fucking good, man. For the first couple of weeks there, we felt like I was booking calls, it was going crazy, like getting sales coming in, and everything was sort of working. The content was flowing, our minds were racing, and we're working off each other in a circumstance where we're like, all right, let's try this, let's try that. And I think the first couple of weeks, I think we were very, very excited to do something fucking new. And whatever happened, coming to sort of the new year came in, the challenge was happening. And I think as soon as the challenge finished, it was kind of like, not so much we will finish, but it was like, okay, it's done. And then we didn't really adjust and move on from there. And I think looking back, I was looking into it like this weekend. I was like thinking about when we'll come to this podcast to talk about it. I was like, what happened? Like, what was the switch? And I think that was the switch when I look back at it, is like the challenge happened and then we didn't really have a big fire plan going forward to then, help build on from this. We did make little bits here and there. We were like, oh, we want to build the Facebook group. We did it. We didn't really do it as much as we'd like to. Now looking back on it, like I've just recently started that back up to try and give back as much to the clients. Like already so far, I've got a message of one of the clients about the lesson, the live. He said like about meeting us halfway. So it's already, helping move the cogs again. Already noticed the change in just doing one fucking live for the clients that we have. So, looking back, I think that's where we fell off the wagon. And maybe because the motivation wasn't there, maybe because the clients were, I remember there was a fucking week where I booked like 4 clients, 4 calls in like 2 days, and none of them picked up. And I was like fuck me dead. Like, what do you do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I put in the time and effort, they schedule on a time that suits them, you know what I mean? And, they don't even pick up the phone all day. I think one of them ended up blocking me on Facebook after a message was like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't control those sort of things. I think that's where motivation sort of dipped when we weren't winning, and
I think our mindset was wrong. Sorry, finish, but our approach to it was wrong. It's more, but it comes back to giving ourselves a finite window to make something happen.
Absolutely.
Whereas if we just focused on the service and making sure that we were giving a good quality service, and in turn you then get results, and in turn word spreads, and then that's how you grow your business. So hindsight's 2020, but it's good that we can at least be self-aware enough to have that hard conversation and sort of go, all right, well, this is what we would do differently next time to ensure that this doesn't happen again. So
absolutely, like when you look back, it's like right now it didn't work the way we wanted to. Why didn't work the way we wanted to? We've got to be honest with ourselves. If we're going to be successful in it, what did or didn't we do that made it work and didn't work? You know what I mean? And there was some stuff that we did that was good, but when we weren't getting those fucking wins, you put your hand up straight away and say like, your creation wasn't there, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, your mind was set elsewhere, so we weren't creating the stuff that we were doing, all the time, and we weren't being ourselves. We weren't being authentic. We weren't being natural. So the content wasn't hitting. So the people weren't coming. Like, there's just so many different little factors, and I think that's the reason as well, because there was so many things to do. We were too overwhelmed, and then we'll focus on all of them at once.
Yeah.
And now we kind of know a bit of a narrower path to be like, all right, this is the thing. Like we've now broke it down to be like, all right, when people come into our ecosystem, when people come into the system, what's the journey we want to bring them on, and make sure we fucking bring them on that journey. And if we fucking make sure we smash it on that, people are going to come in, get the results they fucking deserve, all right, and make us get to where we want to get to. But that's the most important thing. Is like as soon as those results come, we've got a couple. We've got a couple ourselves. We got Shawnee. There is a couple in there that are good little hidden gems type thing. But and the more that they come now, and now that we don't have the time, and now we've got to take a step back from this journey, I think it's a good sort of platform now. As you said, like I think the biggest challenge for us before is we had this runway where we were running out of runway. Now we don't really have the runway anymore. So it's now just about adjusting our schedules. This is a good step going forward, bringing the podcast back. And
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I think from here and out, it's like, what can we do to make sure that we service our clients as much as possible in our own means. So
yeah, for sure. Our clients and our future clients, because that's the big thing. It's creating that ecosystem. I think it's important to give without your hand out, which is what we struggled with. I think for that first 6 months, there was a lot of give with the expectation of something in return. And, as I say, I think my biggest takeaway from all of this is we're very deep into the personal development. We're very deep into listening to people that are further ahead of us in the game. And don't get me wrong, those things are super beneficial, right? But without having gone through what we've gone through, a lot of the lessons that they teach are lessons based on their experience, their perspective, the things that they've done and learnt, because they've got they've got the scars, and they've gone into battle and they've come out the other side of it. It's all well and good hearing a story about something to do with the business that we were trying to build, but without the context of actually going through it ourselves, you can't really piece those pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together until you're in a moment like this where you can sit and reflect and go, oh, okay, I've just heard that lesson. Mm-hmm. I can now go, all right, I liken it to this first-hand experience that I've experienced here over the last 6, 7, 8 months. Okay, now I understand that on a deeper level than you telling me the lesson based on your view, your perspective, so on, and without me doing any of the X's and O's or going through any of that journey. So I think that's the biggest thing and then layer that with, it just comes back to action. It's the same with our clients. Mm-hmm. Shawnee, Mitch Lansing, James Meakin, there's a lot of, there's a key handful of people who really saw good results, whether it be the 10 for 10 challenge or over the course of their time with us, really saw good results. Yeah. And then there's obviously others who didn't see those results. So is the blueprint broken, or did the X's and O's just not be, executed as well as they could have been?
Yeah.
And it's obviously the latter, because if somebody can do it, then everyone can do it.
Correct.
If somebody's got the results and they have that blueprint, then everyone has that same blueprint. Then it just comes down to the work, and that's exactly where we found ourselves. There are obviously a lot of things going in that we didn't know, we weren't aware of. Again, the lesson was there, but the context wasn't there. So hearing that lesson, but then not being able to relate it to first-hand knowledge, we couldn't put 2 and 2 together. And the beauty of it is that we'll continue in our journey and we'll look back and we still won't know all the answers, because we still haven't seen all of the X's and O's that need to be executed. And, once we get to a point where we have a successful business and we need to maybe scale and start hiring and do all those things, that's a different level again.
It's another challenge, right? It's another hurdle, yeah.
100%. So we'll be in the same position going forward, just hopefully on the next or every further obstacle, not hopefully. Every further obstacle, we just need to make sure it doesn't fully derail us like it has done this time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think
as any, go for it.
I think the painter, the artist, looks at his painting different to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is exactly what you said. You can't understand a lesson unless you've made it yourself.
Yeah.
You can't fully understand a lesson
Understand it. Yeah.
unless you made it yourself. It's easy to see that 2 + 2 = 4. It's harder to actually learn that on the paper and with the books and stuff like that.
I think the best analogy there is you put your hand to the stove, it's hot. You burn your hand, you don't put your hand to the stove again. Now you can tell me not to put my hand to the stove, but until I put my hand on the stove and burn myself,
until you have
know
concept, until you have
and that's the context.
What is, until you have context of what hot is,
you're
never going to understand not to put your hand on the stove.
100%.
This whole topic came about because of Anson's live the other day, and I just thought it was a great way to reboot Jag Media Podcast, Transformative Podcast, whatever we call it down in the future, and B, get some lessons in. The finite amount of time, you both touched on that, was an interesting one. One thing I like about us, and it goes against my own grain, interestingly, because I'm not a patient person, is that we do think long term.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're you and I, and I'm pretty sure all three of us aren't the most patient people in the world.
Have you seen me drive?
I've heard you drive. Fucking hell.
And we obviously knew that there was a bit of time constraint for you guys going into it. How much of a factor did that play in terms of the results that you got? And like in terms of details, and this might be a bit uncomfortable to think about, and maybe it's too personal a question, I'm not sure, but when you were in the weeds with that in the background, what was going through, and what lessons would you give someone who's sort of put themselves within that time constraint of needing to make a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time, and throwing his back up against the wall, or her back up against the wall? What would you do differently in that space?
Cool. Basically,
you start. Go for it.
Ready to go. Basically, as I touched on before, is like I said that Jimmy and I weren't very creative when it got down to the run of it. So for me, looking back, the biggest challenge, like I feel like when we got into it, we felt like we had plenty of runway, we had plenty of time, we had people in the system, we had things going, and we're doing everything. I think just narrowing down on the X's and O's, making sure that you believe in what you do, you have the operation set up, and you just you take action on everything. Like whatever you say you're going to do, fucking do it. And don't make any excuses as to why. We had so much time in all the days to figure out what we wanted to do and what we needed to do. And we did a lot of it in the first, coming. But when it got down to that coming up in the background, we focused more on that, coming over the horizon. And all right, if this doesn't work, what's our next step? What's our next step? So, having that safety net afterwards is what we're trying to focus on, and it stopped everything else. It's hard to sort of, like, I think Hormozy says it, or Layla says it, where the deeper you step out into the ocean and you think it's going to be deep as fuck, and then you step out and it's only your knee deep. The journey is such a long fucking journey in that circumstance, but it's really it seems so scary from the start, right? But the worst fucking happens. We're back here full circle doing it all over again. Like at the end of the day, what harm was really done other than fucking losing a bit of money? So, at the end of the day, it's like, as long as you focus on what, know what you want to do, focus on what you do, and fucking execute on it, you have nothing to worry about.
I think the biggest thing is hyper focus. So, one, I don't recommend doing what we did, selling a business, using the capital that you generated from the sale of the business to live for for 6 months. Realistically, the runway was for 12 months. I wasn't able to liquidate two of my other assets, which has worked out to be a really good thing. But I wasn't able to liquidate till the other assets that I owned in that time. But what I would say is, if anyone's going to do it like we did it, where you didn't have enough income to jump, but you had enough sort of proof, 5 to 10 clients, where you went, okay, the concept works. Now we've just got to sort of get it in front of more people and, build from there. But relying on relying on reserve funds, if you're going to do it like that, it needs to be number one priority no matter what. It needs to be 7 days a week. It needs to be, sort of 100 hours a week, or 80 hours a week, let's say, as a minimum. And that's probably something that we struggled with. I think we're definitely both accountable to that for different reasons. But yeah, like that's something where there probably wasn't enough hyper focus to do it. Now, if you're going to build something over time, it's your side hustle. You build it up as you go, and then you get it to that point where it's sort of replacing your income, and then you jump. Well, then you've at least got it to that point. But we didn't even have it to that point when we made the jump. We just sort of went, what's the worst that can happen? We end up with no fucking money. And like, I literally spoke to Claire. I was like, well, worst comes to worst, we move in with Margaret, we start again. Like, it is what it is. No one dies. Not ideal, but no one fucking dies. So, thankfully we didn't end up in that position, but basically the worst has happened. All the funds are gone. My savings that I had as well, gone. Obviously, I've got those two assets. Those assets we're now using for the courier run once again. The work that we did in the last 2-3 months has helped us financially sort of now, and we may just be able to ride that wave as well to get us back to a point where we may have runway again. But again, I would do it differently next time as well. But yeah, I would just say, if you're going to make the jump like we did, it needs to be your number one top priority. And you can't sort of treat it as a side hustle or a hobby, or even just a regular job where you work 30, 40 hours. It needs to be number one priority. So,
Tim,
and then what Anson touched on is 100% true. It's make your plan and then execute, and don't execute for a day or a week and go, oh, it hasn't worked, because it's not a long enough time horizon to assess or analyze anything. Execute for 60, 90 days and then assess those results. Now, obviously, if you know something 100% isn't working, then yeah, for sure, pivot. But we focus more on how do we get clients in instead of how do we provide value for people. And I'm not saying that people that came in we didn't provide value to, but there's definitely more we could have done for them. And if we had have done more and provided more value, we would have got the clients in, that cycle. It would have been easier to sign clients, because word of mouth is your biggest thing as an owner of a business.
Before I say what I'm going to say, the main thing is the product isn't in doubt.
For sure.
Even with having only worked with, and I shouldn't even say only, because most people don't even get 2 clients. And I know that from personal experience in network marketing, that 80% of people don't get any clients. But you guys are working with, like up to, you've worked with 40 clients at a time type thing, or however many, I don't know the exact number, but however many you've worked with. So the product is not in doubt.
Yeah. There's more layers that need to be added to it, and that's sort of what is coming next. We can touch on that after, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I do agree with Tim Grover, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant, may he rest in peace, hit their trainer, their personal trainer was obviously Michael Jordan's first, because he wouldn't share.
And because he was in the league beforehand.
And because he was in the league beforehand. Their personal trainer talks about the concept of relentlessness. And I think that's one thing that is definitely needed in a venture like this, especially
Yeah.
back is up against the wall.
Yeah.
The big, and like I said, the reason this came up was because of Anson's live midweek. If anyone is listening and hasn't seen it, go check out Anson on IG at Anson G Fit. We'll put it in the we'll put all the socials in the crib notes of the
Just a
podcast.
quick shout. I'll do them 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. Always doing a Q&A on my own socials, and 5 p.m. on Mondays. I'll be doing it in our Facebook group. So if you guys want to be amongst the T4M Facebook group, don't be afraid. Hit me up.
Is it free?
Yeah, we can create a free group as well, but at this stage, it's for our paid clients. So,
And we'll move it to school soon. I think you use the words like, and it was an off the cuff. It was an off the cuff question to yourself of, oh, what's the worst that could happen? And kind of the worst did happen. Not the absolute worst, Jimmy. You said, the absolute bottom of the barrel is you sell everything, move in with mother-in-law, which isn't a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. But like it all goes and you start again from scratch. Looking at it from that perspective now, what are you feeling? What's the energy like? Is there clearer thinking? What's going on in the transformative coaching space? And we've spoken about it obviously at length on phone calls and stuff like that. But for anyone who's listening to this far, what is it evolving to? Is it just the physical side of things, or
No, for sure.
what does it look like now?
So so we had a very successful challenge that we started basically in the new year, which is 10 for 10 kilos in 10-week challenge. And effectively the whole thought process is you come in, you go on a pretty restrictive diet, nothing too crazy, but enough to obviously ensure you hit those goals. And you effectively you just head down for 10 weeks. You lose that 10 kilo, and then you sort of reassess things from there. But the thing we noticed was a lot of our clients who came in, especially in and around that time, they'd come in and they'd be super hyper focused for that 10 weeks. And a lot of them saw really fucking good results. Like most of them who committed to the cause, there's probably a good 6, 7, 8 people who really committed to the cause, hit at least 8 kilo in 10 weeks, which is a pretty good body composition change in such a small amount of time. Two things. One thing is that it's not a sustainable approach. So that was something where after they sort of hit that goal, because it's not sustainable, you sort of sit back into old habits, and then you obviously lose the progress that you've made. But the second thing is transforming the physical stuff was great. And obviously, we're given weekly check-ins. There was a daily check-in form that we used for the first good 4 or 5 weeks. There was multiple touch points from coach to client throughout the process. But the person on the other end only saw it as a finite 10-week head down, go hard, hit the goal, and then sort of floundered from there and didn't really know what next steps were. And that's on us. We didn't create either the next chapter to it, or I suppose give them enough education and knowledge around what they then had to do after the fact. But the biggest thing that I think that we've taken away from it is the person just changed those habits for 10 weeks in order to hit a finite goal. They didn't change their identity. They didn't change who they were on the inside, how they saw themselves in the mirror, or anything like that. And that's been a pretty common theme, one, from the people we've worked with, and two, from a lot of the guys in the space of a lot of the podcasts that we listen to. It really comes down to transforming your mind just as much as your body. Like your body is just the easiest entry point to transformation, to change. Anybody can go and, eat a bit healthier, walk a bit more, and lift a bit, lift some weights. And in sort of 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, you can see significant change physically when you look in the mirror. But if you don't start working on that person, that's the person that's inside, that sort of inner child, or I don't want to get woo-woo, but like, that person looking back at you in the mirror deep down when you're sort of in your bed at night, nothing really changes, because you effectively just fall back into old shitty habits that you had back when. So that's what's coming from us is I don't know if it's a course yet, or if it's just, like a 4-year transformation program that we put together, and you sort of pick which direction you want to go in based on your priorities. We haven't quite nutted out the finer details yet, but effectively it's going to be change of habit for the first sort of part of it, whether maybe 8 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that. And then it takes them on a journey of, all right, those habits now become the baseline as a minimum. This is who we are. This is how we execute. And then you start working on the internal belief stuff, changing yourself from the inside out. You've already done the hard part by starting the momentum, by lifting weights and changing your body composition on the outside. It's now time to do the harder work, which is that self-reflection and that internal work of, I need to now change me from the inside so that this becomes my lifestyle holistically.
Yeah. The biggest change that I sort of saw in any of our sort of clients is the one that I actually had one-to-one life coaching with. So we worked on every week. We sat down for an hour, worked out and lashed out things that were going on in his life that needed focus, that needed that sort of attention. And he was the one that sort of, in his eyes, and in my eyes too, was a completely different man to the person that I had from week 1. To be honest, from when I fucking met him to then week 10 after I had a sessions with him, and we're just looking back on the whole journey together. Because not only was he doing the training in the fucking gym, he was feeling better, he was lifting better, he was doing all those little things that we want to create in the course on a day-to-day basis. And he was just a completely different identity by the end of it. He just didn't see that same person that he looked at in the mirror from day 1 to week 10. So that's, I think, why we know that it can be so much more than just fucking looking in the mirror and being happy with what you look at, when you can change your whole fucking lifestyle. Because we've been on our fucking own journey up here and here for God knows how long now. So we know that the difference can be made. It's just now putting it down into sort of a course that can bring everyone on a journey on. They can enjoy it, they can stick to it, and it can be something that they come into our system and then go out of it and teach their kids, their fucking siblings, their fucking everyone around them, and they can be sort of, they bring into their lifestyle and they bring it to everyone else, because that's what we're fucking about. We want to make change in people's lives, not just in their bodies.
Yeah, it's the pebble in the ocean, You throw a pebble in, it causes a ripple and then expands from there. So
I'm shit at skimming rocks anyway, so
feels like TCM and T4M, the training for both is kind of merging and morphing and evolving into its own beast. So
yeah,
might have to look at another rebrand or something. I don't know. I kind of like T4M, so it's just
the LGBTQ, whatever the fuck, might not like it though. So
yeah. If we keep stealing letters,
transfer mail. Here we go. Funny stuff. Yes.
No, it's been interesting to watch it from the outside, and there was not a whole, and this is just like my personal reflection on it, there was not a whole hell of a lot that I could do, or I know I had the self-awareness not to try and stick my nose in, because I didn't know, I wasn't in it. I
The
couldn't.
context thing, right?
Yeah, I could sit here and I've said it a couple of times saying in terms of the time factor that was going in, but at the end of the day, I wasn't in it. So
It's the same sort of spectrum when it's flicked into the online store. For me, like as a you're in it fucking full time and that sort of stuff, where like you bounce ideas off Jimmy and myself, and I'm like, yeah, bro, like whatever you think, bro, you're the one that's in it amongst it. You know what I mean? So like, I like that you bounce the ideas, but it's like it's the same sort of thing, just flipped. You know what I mean? You're there day to day doing it. So,
but I like seeing what it's morphing into, and the fact that it's not dead.
yeah,
This experience, I don't want to put a number on it at all, because like I could be totally wrong, but I don't think everyone would bounce back from something like this.
Yeah. Well, I think this is probably where most businesses sort of either one quit or two pivot in a completely different direction, and by pivoting, they're effectively defaulting the lessons that they've learned.
It's a starter.
You start again.
It's a significant pivot. It's a
Yeah.
starter, which is a brand new business.
Yeah, correct. So, as I say, I know that a lot more work needs to go into the molding of the mind and the internal stuff. Than what we sort of gave. We gave a lot of the X's and O's on how to lose weight and those things. But now it's about, all right, well, how do we have sustained change? And realistically, how do we build community? Because that's our background, really. You know, we've managed people, we've been part of teams from a sporting perspective, from a business perspective, for as long as we can, forever. So community and connection with other people, that's where we thrive. And the ultimate goal is just to have the person on the other end, the client, the client to just want to be, not to rip off LSKD, but to want to be that 1% better every day, and then just compound that over time. Because, when we're in it full time, we've chatted about this, when we're in it full time, I didn't do a lot of the personal development work that I was doing prior to that, which gave me the self-belief that, yeah, give me 6 months, 12 months, I can make this happen. Because realistically, it was me thinking, oh, I can make this happen because I believe in myself. I still have that belief. It's buried right now, but I still have that belief. And I think the last 2-3 months, where we've sort of distanced ourselves from the coaching, moved into, other roles, and started to get back into the personal development space, we've realized how, one, looking after that, that side of our life daily is super important for us and our efficiency and our creativity and what we bring to the world. And two, why, we then piece together how that world fits into the fitness world, and realistically they are one world, because ultimately as people, if you project out, right, like if you work out 5-6 days a week for 6 months and then fall off the wagon for 3 years, you're effectively at square zero, ground zero, square one, 3.5 years down in the future. Whereas if you train 3 times a week every week for the next 20 years, you're going to be in some semblance of decent shape, health, mindset, and realistically, whether it is, we all want to make more money, we all want to be good fathers, good role models to our peers, to our children, to the people around us. It all starts, the fitness is usually the catalyst to that. If you see someone walk in a room who's physically fit, you automatically look at them a different way to someone who's morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Whether you like that or not, it's a reality.
Yeah.
So why not be that person? And I think most of us lying in bed at night, deep down, would go, if I had a choice, not hard to do the X's and O's because they're simple, but they're hard. But if I had a choice, I'd much rather be fit than I'd rather be fat.
I agree. Completely agree. I don't think there'll be anyone in the world that would say otherwise. So
So,
you'd think so anyway.
say that again.
You'd think so. Anyway. I don't think there'll be anyone else in
Well,
the world that would
they
say
may say it, but they don't believe it. So.
yeah.
I think they drop off too quickly to keep saying it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
And it's all a facade.
Fucking disease.
Well, for heart disease, the list of dementia. I mean, the list goes on, right? So,
yeah. It's been a tough year for us. I think.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this is the toughest. I hope to God that
I don't know if it'll be the toughest. Here's what I will say. I think, and like most things in life, as we grow, as we scale, as we get better, we're going to face harder challenges.
Yeah.
But we're going to be more capable of withstanding those challenges.
Yeah, the 20 kilo plate doesn't get lighter, you just get stronger. Yeah.
Correct. So I actually don't wish for the challenges coming up to be easier, because if they're not easier, it means that we're going in the right direction. So I don't want the journey to be easy, because then it won't be worth it. And I'm not going to sit here and say I hope we get to where we want it to be, because hope means fuck all. The next question is what are the X's and O's, and how well do you execute? And I mean, realistically, for me, that's what this is. This is a line in the sand for us to sort of move forward. The next 6 months are going to be challenging, and then from there it's going to be different challenges. And then, as I say, from there, hopefully we can get it to a point where we've scaled well enough to where the challenges that we're facing there are, we don't have the context to, and we don't know what we're looking out for, and they're just as hard. But if we're moving in that right direction, then I'll take the hard challenges every day of the week.
Absolutely. I think the challenge is, like, so far, like for me, like going through this little journey so far is like me like being my fucking creative side. I've never been a fucking creative person. I'm left-handed, bro. I'm dyslexic. Like, don't worry about it. I don't be creative whatsoever. So me being creative is such a different little thing, and like learning like the little X's and O's about like, stuff to say on the fucking camera. Like I remember the first time we fucking shot some videos, bro, like how fucking painful they were to fucking shoot, let alone edit, because I'd fumble my words. I remember the fucking video that we made for the challenge. I swear to God, I think that took me 10 minutes to write 4 lines, bro. Like, it was just, what is wrong with me when the camera is in front of me? So like, it already just goes to show, like, looking back on those little things there, how much further I've gone along the line. And like, as you just said, there's like the new challenges that will come from us expanding, us growing, are going to be different, but it's going to be like those little fucking lessons there, those little things to look back on there, obviously in a different sort of different sort of way, but it's definitely going to be something different. Like, I know this right now, the biggest challenge for us right now is the time sort of thing, but if we can stay fucking ahead of the game, for me, I'll put my hand up right now. I haven't been fucking eating the best recently, so my training's still been fine, but I haven't been meal prep properly. So now I've just started my meal prep, and I'm back fucking ready doing that. So I'm like trying to get myself time-wise to get myself prepped. So now I'm doing all those things for me, myself as well, but now getting our clients involved as well. So as long as we're scheduled in, trying to be like Azza and be fucking prepped and ready for everything, trying to learn his fucking way of things, because I'm just messy with all my shit as always. But I think that's all together, like those lessons fucking learned from there, like those little small things that add up to the big things in the end. And I think it's only going to benefit us going forward. So now that we've gone past that little hiccup, and now we're back doing this as well, I think it's only going to become bigger and better. So
I think so too. One of the things that a lot of people don't do when they go on when they create a plan and go on a venture is smart goals. Smart goals are good. The one thing that everyone misses out when they create a plan or a SMART goal or something with steps is what happens. What do you do when you get punched in the mouth? The whole Mike Tyson thing. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Or punched in the mouth. I don't know the verbatim thing, but I think one of the biggest things would be for us, and this seems to be a theme for myself all year because it hasn't been great, is what do you do? So it's probably a good question to end on for you guys. Like we could go fucking all night if we wanted, but we got stuff we got to tend to in the morning.
Yeah, fair.
What what are the actions you're going to take when these same obstacles come up?
Yeah, basically, I just spoke a bit on it then. It's just being better prepared for everything. Now, for the client sort of based things, I've set out like schedules for myself. So like when I'm editing content, when I'm fucking making programs, when I'm like trying to book calls and trying to get people on the calls now, like I basically set not my week up. It's now my day-to-day setup. So now it's just trying to like make sure I hit all my fucking to-do list. I've never been a to-do list guy. I don't fucking ever think I would ever be a to-do list guy, but laying it out like that and seeing what I have to fucking do for the day is the best sort of way to go about it in my eyes. Because I didn't do it before and I would fucking miss something. I'd be at the end of the day and be like, fuck, I missed this. And then I'd be like scrambling to do whatever. Because that's just how I'm fucking wired, and I'm trying to get myself out of it. You know, there's those little habits.
Yeah.
So now it's like as well now, like for the Facebook group, I know when I'm like going live, I know when I should be posting or anything like that. Yeah, I'm trying to get people to engage in it, and then I'm trying to bring more people into the ecosystem still at the same time with the content. So that's going to be the toughest thing is for me is making the time for the content, which I'm still working a little bit out here and there. This is definitely going to help to bring in some content as well. But it's just being prepared, better prepared for once in my life.
Checklist,
I
mate.
think
Checklists are so powerful. Like I said, I hopped on it on our call the other day. Checklists are fucking amazing when you execute.
Underrated as fuck, in my opinion.
I think from my end, what was the question again?
So like when these obstacles come up,
Yeah.
that you guys have been through over the course of the last 6 months.
Yeah.
It's a different perspective on what would you do differently.
Yeah.
But knowing this fucks me up.
Yeah.
When it comes up again, I'm going to do X.
Yeah. I think probably two things come to mind. Like there's like 100 things that we did. So trying to identify one thing is not where my head goes to. My head goes to one, testing and measuring in a longer period of time. So quite often we do something for a week and we're expecting a return on something in that period of time. If you want to lose 20 kilo, you don't lose 20 kilo in a week. You lose 20 kilo in 20 weeks at best, if you fucking push yourself. So trying to do something, change something from a content perspective, from a DM perspective, from whatever perspective, and expect immediate result is naive. And I think again that comes down to our finite time mentality.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I would say is probably it's either be less emotional about a decision or be less hard on myself. I don't know which one it is, or maybe there's elements of both, but business is business. And because I'm tying my name to the business, it was like a personal defeat, a personal attack on me. Whereas I don't suck. The decision sucked. We didn't execute well enough, so on and so forth. But it doesn't tie me and who I am as a man to that. So again, I don't know if I'm too hard on myself or whether whatever I said before. But I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. Is I would take every defeat heaps more personally than I should have, and was way too emotional, I suppose, in my next decision making based on the prior result. And I think that stunted action a lot of the time. And as I say, not expecting something that takes 3 months to happen in a week is, but again, hindsight. So
Yeah, definitely. We are having a longer term horizon.
mm-hmm.
I said it at the start of this podcast. It goes against everything that I feel.
Yeah.
There's something inside that is just pushing against that notion.
Mm-hmm.
But we spoke probably, I've said it many times, but like for me, when Philo and P and Ryan are off in university and going and learning their own lives, like this thing will still be going.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
for me, it will.
No, that's the plan. Ultimately, I think we all are good people. We all want the world to be in a better place. I think we all believe that how you do anything is how you do everything. And integrity is super important to us. We may not always act in integrity, but it's definitely a core value that we all share. And that's ultimately one of what we want to bring to the world, is to have more integral people, more people who do what they say and say what they do, more people who want to impact the world positively. And that all comes back to who we are as people. So now it's just about further creating a vessel to bring people into that world, and then take them on the journey that we want to take them on. So, and really, truthfully, this is a selfish endeavor, because if I can help people become a better version of themselves, I win. Like, I get more out of it than they will.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting concept, paradise. Probably one that we can chat about heaps. So let's maybe leave it for a different pod. But that's what I want to bring to the world, is just I want to be the best version of me. And if I want that, then I know other people want it too. So giving him that vessel, giving him that foundation, that blueprint, that groundwork, to then, all right, well, how do we do that and go forward? Yeah, it sounds like a pretty fucking good life.
Yeah. That's still baby.
I think that's a good way to end this.
Yeah.
And like that is a podcast. Your question today of what's a business purpose is a podcast in itself, and I think that answer ties into that. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back.
It is good to be back.
Way too fucking long. I need to come back.
It was way too long.
I appreciate all the messages off whoever the fuck was sending them through. Put your hand up, please, because I'd love to know who the fuck you were. But yeah, it's back. It's gonna be better than ever. I fucking know it. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we want to bring people on. We want to get different insights. Yeah, we really want this to be a vehicle for change, and to just get our message out there. If this can impact one person sort of every time, it's the whole pebble in the ocean thing that we've already touched on today. So the more content we can bring in and around this space, I think the better. And ultimately, we're really doing this just for one, accountability, and two, to document our journey, because if we can look back on these pods in 5, 10, 15 years time, when, you know, we're going to be at an elevated level with different challenges, it'd be good to sort of look back on these times and go, oh, well, this is where we were. Do you remember these fucking times? You think, you know, if we could get through it then, we can get through it now. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell them where they can find you on the social, lads, and then I'll wrap it up.
So Instagram is Anson G Fit with a double E, because my name's Gary B. And Facebook, obviously, Anson Gilligan standard. TikTok is Anson G Fit as well. So them up, baby.
What am I, Transform with Jimmy G?
I think it's Transform. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
It keeps changing.
Transform with Jimmy G. See, I haven't used my socials in like 3 months, which is so bad. But that's, as I say, that's where we are. It's, draw that line in the sand. But Transform with Jimmy G on Insta and TikTok, Jimmy Gilligan on Facebook. But yeah.
And don't forget
For the next one, Les, what are you as?
Don't worry about as, but follow Transformative Coaching on Instagram. Is that Transformative with a 4?
Transformative Coaching.
TRANS4mative.
Tim Tam Coaching.
That's the one. That's the one. And as a, don't discount yourself, mate. There's a $500,000 Shopify store sitting behind you. So, you know, it's not like you ain't doing bits, mate.
I try my best. I try my best.
So,
we'll get there.
we will.
All right, lads.
All
We'll
right.
see you next
Be
week.
good.
Yeah, I'll speak to you soon.